WeSeeNot.com. Social media, Russians and good old boy corruption. They say all politics are local. If anyone wishes to influence American politics, they would start with the locals. This is the first part of an essay that describes the start of the Trump phenomenon from the perspective of Republican political initiatives in 2008 through 2016. It will show how corruption can run deep and go unseen, how opposition can be forced out of business, and run out of town. This was my experience, and most of these events still remain a mystery to me. We are made to think that only radical, or mentally unstable people would believe in conspiracies. In fact, a conspiracy is a very common human behavior. Consider, two lovers making plans to marry against the wishes of their parents, or that the United States and Christianity were created by a conspiracy. To privately make plans to do something is a natural aspect of society, and one person's conspiracy is another person's plan for a better outcome. Conspiracy theory is defined as a belief that some covert but influential organization is responsible for a circumstance or event. The entire structure of history has been built from a variety of conspiracies working against each other. A conspiracy is simply the best way to achieve goals in society. Influential groups with bad intentions are part and parcel for most all institutions, with deception being the primary tool used to realize the bad deeds of those intentions. People who think others care about justice are surprised, and disappointed, when others defraud them. On the other side of the coin are the people that are in the business of disappointing, and work hard to do so. Many times they see each other as sheep and wolves. Because the nature of a conspiracy is secrecy, we lack the ability to understand how pervasive conspiracies in society can be. In particular, in an economy based on competition, all we have ever known is to work hard at profiting from our neighbors, and a conspiracy is our best tool for doing this. Government is a conspiracy that improves only when we notice, and under a public outcry. The deep state is an imaginary or real body of influential members of government agencies, local, or federal, involved in the secret manipulation of policy. If you were the deep state, and you were up to no good, the best misdirection would be to be the first one pointing to a deep state attacking you. The best defense to opposition is to become the opposition. The most common reason to keep secrets is to get away with a crime. Since governments have a lot of money, the best tool for corrupt organizations to take that money, legally, is secrecy. Prior to these events, I had the immature concept that the government was about we the people, similar to neighbors looking after our best interests. This was a very big misunderstanding on my part, and I would learn that what I did not know would be very harmful. There is not a crime, there is not a dodge, there is not a trick, there is not a swindle, there is not a vice which does not live by secrecy. Joseph Pulitzer, known for posthumously establishing the Pulitzer Prizes. This is a true story that stretches from the 2008 Ron Paul campaign, to the 2016 election of Donald Trump. The story will infer a backstory of how Russian corruption joined hands with domestic corrupt elements to collaborate, and executed a 10-year plan to disrupt elections in the United States. Then put in place an entire political party favorable to Russian interests. Along the way, this story will point to how political and judicial institutions could be corrupted from top to bottom, by organizations that hide in the shadows. In 2008, I bought a house in the city of Villa Rica, Georgia, and settled in with my 9-year-old son. I was concerned with the direction America was moving toward. The Internet was propagating, and people were learning to use it. I felt this new freedom of information was dangerous, and I considered it would disrupt society. This explosion of available data, and the open software to exchange information would cause a significant shift in the status quo. I built a social media website, metroecho.com, because I considered the ability to use these new data tools would be central to how we do business and govern. Metroecho.com was designed as local directories, to teach local communities how to use these new tools. The partnership between Cambridge Analytics, Facebook, and the Trump campaign would come to prove these new media tools could move an electorate in any direction desired. I found that there were forces that were well aware of the power of social media to manipulate political activity. Since the power of social media is so absolute, if a giant like Facebook had political motivations, they could work to prevent any competition to the monopoly. This behavior would enable anti-democratic forces to manipulate voter intentions. I became involved in politics for the first time. I joined the Ron Paul 2008 presidential campaign. Then in the 2012 campaign, I became involved with the Republican Party of Douglas, Carroll, and Cobb counties. I was a delegate of the 13th District of Georgia. This convention was nullified by the state for not following proper procedures, with significant violations of rules and regulations. This was the only convention that had to be redone by state officials. I would begin to understand that our democracy was far less democratic than I had believed before. In 2012, something was wrong with the Ron Paul campaign in Georgia. Administrators refused to build a database of interested new people. They would only use Facebook, they kept those sites either closed or private, and they would not allow door-to-door canvassing. There was also a Russian guy that, for some unknown reason, had an elevated position in the campaign. Something that today has made me rethink the whole situation in Russian terms, giving me a sense that Russians were now integral in the political process. A quick sidebar: by January of 1992 the Soviet Union ended. On August 9, 1999 Putin was appointed Prime Minister and built a government based on corruption. Russia now has commerce-based immigration into the United States. It is now much easier to build commercial relations with Russian companies that are part of a government that is far less democratic, and is based on corruption. Birds of a feather will flock together. There would be many opportunities for corrupt elements in the United States to do business with Russia, and become better acquainted. It was becoming clear to me that there was a power structure working behind the scenes, for alternate purposes. In Georgia, the Ron Paul movement was run by an established group that would use the momentum created to motivate voters to elect local politicians, who had nothing to do with the movement. They would only pretend to be with the Ron Paul movement, while in actuality having an agenda to maintain the local Republican power structure. This was the start of the alt-right movement. A movement based on a return to the precepts of our Constitution, of sound monetary policy, and of control of the Federal Reserve. What I noticed was that although these were the talking points, the actual individuals that were in control were in no way interested in any change. Around March of 2012, through my political involvement, I was befriended by a retired Los Angeles County deputy, who shall be called retired deputy. Not the typical person that would wish to be my friend, and he was very motivated to become my close friend. I was becoming aware of corrupt anomalies of the local Republican political organization. In one conversation about these abnormalities with my new friend the retired deputy, I was told that because of what I knew my life may be in danger. At the time I found this comment very odd. I did not think I really knew anything of any value, to warrant anyone wanting to kill me. Today, I think the Ron Paul campaign Georgia was fake, and simply a way to slingshot a separate agenda under the guise of conservative values. For the local county participants, it appeared to me that the goal was to take $40 million of county funds, for private use. Not that there's anything wrong with that, as it turns out, that's what politics is for. This is not to say Ron Paul was involved with this local money project, but the Ron Paul agenda provided the cover, and would be used for local, and more personal goals for the local cabal. It turns out that these situations are far more prevalent than I would have ever imagined. The later revelations of the many connections of the Donald Trump campaign and presidency have only magnified the problem. The situation will change, I will find my business under attack, my life threatened, and forced to leave Douglas County and Georgia. In secrecy, political power can be very absolute, and force a democracy to only serve as a cover for a corrupt mafia. This story is true, and in many ways should be a lesson for all of us. If you would like to continue reading or listening to this story, please go to the webpage, wecnot.com/corrupt. Regardless if you are a Democrat, Republican, or Independent, become involved with your local party. Remember, all politics are local. Keep an eye on the people that can affect your life the most. Force politicians to work for the best interest of your community. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and work with us to stop corruption. Thank you for watching.